Bank tellers, they may get to skip the line to receive this COVID-19 vaccine once it becomes available. They'd be jumping ahead of those who are at an increased risk for COVID with severe symptoms like pre-existing conditions. Maybe they're older, 65 and older. So they'll be jumping ahead because they'll be considered essential workers. These are, again, bank tellers. So the American Bank Association did speak about their conversations with the CDC on this, and they did say, in our conversations with public health agencies, the ABA has advocated that among bank employees already deemed essential by the government, those that come in contact with the public every day, such as tellers, should be considered for the CDC's Phase 1B, along with essential workers in other industries. So as far as essential workers and being considered that, the reason why they're trying to push for this now is because previous to this, they were not considered that. Continuing on from Market Watch, the DHS defines essential workers as those who conduct a range of operations and services that are typically essential to continue critical infrastructure operations and have in the past included firefighters, teachers, grocery workers. Yet beyond those essential workers, guidance from the DHS's Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency indicates that people working in financial services should be included in this category. So there's the 1A classification, and they want to be in this 1B classification where they'll get some the vaccine, access to the vaccine, since they do have to deal with so many people coming out of banks. Originally, I was thinking this is like bankers, Wall Street. These are specifically bank tellers in your branches of banks around the country. What are you thinking, Jay?
Yeah, Jayar, here's the problem. I don't believe them. I don't believe that the banking or lobbyists are going to spend time and effort to make sure bank tellers are the ones that are getting the vaccine. I would be shocked beyond belief if their CEOs didn't take it first. Okay, so if they're being straight up about it, I get the logic of it, and bank tellers are wonderful people that don't have anything to do with running giant banks that rip us off. Okay, they're regular people like us, and they got a normal job, right? So, and they do deal with people all the time. So there's some degree of logic in it. But you're telling me that giant bank lobbyists got all animated about their lowest level employees that get paid the least amount of money, and they're not actually trying to get the vaccine for people that work on Wall Street first? I don't believe it for a second. So I'm happy to be proven wrong, and we'll track the story, and we'll bring it to you later if we get any updates on it. But no, of course they're gonna give it to their executives. Of course they are. I'm not saying they're not gonna give it to the bank tellers, but the executives will get it first, and then they'll be like, oh yeah, right. We meant for the bank tellers. Send in Bob.
We'd have to see how it kind of gets tracked, because I actually hadn't thought about it in that way. And actually, as I was going through it, I was like, well, they do deal with a lot of people, just like tellers not tellers, but checkout cashiers at grocery stores. All that happens, and many of them, at least I've seen, maybe it's only certain communities, they already have this big plexiglass in front of them already, and many times you have to slide your information underneath the slit. So I would think that's a pretty good deterrent for any kind of contamination or spread of the virus. So I think that could lead to more of your speculation about how this could go. But I'd have to see how that weaves its way up to the top, because obviously CEOs, execs, and all of them aren't hanging out in the local branches, So they'd have to find a way for this to go in both directions, and also who controls it. We're still looking for the rollout details, which I'm still not sure on. That Trump was talking about, was it warp speed? That then who knows will be picked up in some certain kind of way once Biden's in office. All these, I don't know if it's going to make it a cloudier type of approach to this and how these vaccines get distributed, or if it'll make it clearer, because they'll have to let us know exactly how vaccines are being distributed.
Yeah. They're not going to tell us anything, and Joe Biden's going to be totally okay with it. Remember, the financial community also donates a lot to Democrats, including Biden. So we'd be lucky if one of the progressive outlets broke a story about this months from now. But probably the way it'll work is, here, I'll give you the excuse they'll do now. If we're giving it to the bank tellers, it seems like it's kind of discrimination to not give it to the other people working at the bank. That's nonsensical. It's already here, so why don't we just give it to everybody that works at the bank? Obviously the CEO is gonna go first because he's really busy. And then all the other executives are also super busy, so they're gonna go second. And then eventually, if there's some left, we'll give it to the bank tellers. Otherwise, it'd be nonsensical discrimination against the other people who work at the bank.
Well, essential workers, Cenk. Essential workers. Well, this is one of those moments where we got to mark this point in the show, because there's times when you go, hey, you guys, I need you to go back to several months ago and see this one time that I said this one thing on this one story about something we talk about a lot. And we're gonna lose our minds doing that. So let's just go ahead and mark it now to see if you're right.
By the way, look, I'm gonna double down. Jayar's right. Those folks working through the pandemic, and they're actually bank tellers, or 1,000 other things that happen at banks that aren't at the highest levels, that aren't the Wall Street guys ripping us off. There's nothing wrong with them. Like I always remember that in Greece, people got so mad at the banks, and then somebody went and shot inside a bank. Guess what happened? They shot a bank teller. Poor guy, died dead for no reason. So don't ever do violence. Don't ever do anything physical, etc., because it always winds up being counterproductive. And don't hate everyone who works at a bank. That's crazy, right? Most of them are average Americans. Now, by the way, you know who's got this figured out? Shameless plug here. Our sponsor, aspiration.com/TYT. They don't have any tellers. It's all online. Problem solved. Okay, they're not going to take your vaccine. They don't need the vaccine. They're going to get it like everybody else. And they're progressive, and they help you out, and they got great rates, and they plant trees. What else do you want? Aspiration.com/TYT.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks. I really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, Jayar. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.